Good morning, Big Ten fans. Welcome back to another edition of the Big Ten Morning Minutes. I am your host, Mike Chen. Give me a follow on Twitter at Mike F. Chen. Follow the show site over there as well at Big Ten MM. It is Tuesday, May 4th, 2021, and may the 4th be with you. A Star Wars holiday for us that celebrate. Obviously, I do that as well, and there was a new Star Wars show that dropped on Disney Plus called The Bad Batch. Very, very entertaining so far. Just like the Big Ten yesterday, a lot of things going on and a lot of player movement inside the portal for both the basketball and football side of things. But before I get into all of the player movement, let's talk about a couple other things that happened inside the Big Ten as well. We'll start off with Evanston and Northwestern. They have found their replacement for Jim Phillips, who obviously has moved on. If you did not remember, Jim Phillips has been the Northwestern athletic director for years upon years, highly regarded as one of the best ADs in the country, was very much considered to replace Jim Delaney. However, ultimately that went to Kevin Warren. Obviously, Kevin Warren's stint so far as the Big Ten commish has been a little rough. Phillips found a new role, and that would be leading the ACC. He is moving on, I believe, at the end of this school year, which is coming up, and he'll be taking over that role full time. And you have to expect that Jim Phillips is going to be there for a very, very long time. It's a destination type of job. It's one of the better conferences in the country. And let's be real here. Jim Phillips was, like I said, highly considered for the Big Ten job. If you're considered for the Big Ten job, you're definitely good enough for the ACC job. So, unfortunately, we are losing a fantastic one in Phillips. However, Northwestern did not have to go far to find his replacement in Mike Polsky. Poliski, I'm sorry. Poliski was the deputy athletic director working right under Phillips. And Poliski is going to make a very smooth transition from the deputy athletic director at Northwestern straight up to the athletic director. Yes, he's going to have a few more roles that is going to be completely his. The decisions are going to be, I wouldn't say they're his alone, but he's going to be the guy. And I like this move by Northwestern. I like the fact that they're staying loyal to their athletics department and promoting Poliski, because this is a highly sought after job. It is one that, when you look at things, it's a place that you want to be. The Northwestern program is in very good hands. They've really made some waves with, obviously football and basketball. Basketball, they broke their NCAA drought a few years ago. The football team has been to the two of the past three Big Ten championship games. When you look at what the NFL draft did this past weekend, or week, I guess I should say, because it started on Thursday and went Friday, Saturday, that you watched two guys from the Northwestern football team, Rashawn Slater and Greg Newsome, the second, get drafted in the first round. First time ever that's happened at Northwestern. Tied Penn State for the most first rounders in the conference. Yeah, I'd say that the athletic programs at Northwestern are doing a good job. So Poliski's taking over a very solid program as a whole. Unfortunately, like I said, we are losing one of the best in Jim Phillips, but big shoes to fill for Poliski. But I think that he is more than adequately going to be able to fill the job. A scheduling note before we get into a lot of transfer movement, and that has to do with Nebraska. They've been looking for a opening game, and they have found one. It was announced that they have found their opponent. Week 1 will be Fordham. This is the first meeting ever between the two teams, and should be an easy win for Nebraska. Let's be real here. Fordham is not a football powerhouse by any means. And I feel like Scott Frost in Nebraska should start the season 1-0. If they aren't, oh boy, this is going to be bad. Could be very, very bad. As we all know, Scott Frost has underperformed in his tenure so far at Nebraska. He is going to have to pick things up very, very soon, I think, and you kind of get the ball moving uh, with his program. But nevertheless, they have found their first week opponent, and that is Fordham. All right, let's move on to the transfers. As we all know, over the weekend, wide receiver from Ohio State, Jamison Williams, entered the transfer portal. And Williams put out his top schools. And I didn't go over that because there's so much to go over from this past weekend over the draft. I'm sorry, I apologize. The timetable is off. Williams jumped to the transfer portal a little over a week ago, and he's found his new destination. I kind of thought that he'd be heading back home towards Missouri. You could play for the Tigers. That's still an SEC program. They're not one of the better SEC programs, but you'd still compete, and there's a good amount of guys that typically get drafted from that Missouri team. Well, he had bigger and better thoughts about that. Williams yesterday came out and said that he has committed to Alabama. This one's interesting because, look, Alabama, if there's one team in the country that you can say hands down recruits better than Ohio State, it's Alabama. And when you look at their wide receiver room, all right, I get it. They lost two studs off to the NFL, but Nick Saban always has guys in the wings, always has guys waiting. And Williams, in my estimation, for Ohio State, yeah, you've got Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson there, and they're going to get the lion's share of targets. But there's still plenty of stuff out there to stay at Ohio State and to be productive. Unless he saw during the spring that some of the younger receivers, and remember the Buckeyes over the last 3 years have brought in the number one ranked receiver in the country for 3 years in a row. Maybe Williams saw the fact that he probably wasn't going to play too much because he was getting jumped by some of the younger guys. I get it. Once again, I think that if things were equal, if this was not a free transfer year, I don't think Williams goes anywhere. I think Williams stays at Ohio State. I think he works it out. I think he plays. I think he does well. As a third receiver, you're looking at, you know, 500 to 600 yards, anywhere between, 3 to 8 touchdowns in my estimation as a third receiver at Ohio State, which is pretty good. Which is pretty good. And I think that you get NFL looks either way. But we wish Williams the best at Alabama. If things work out right, he could see Ohio State in the college football playoffs, as both teams are expected to make a return after their championship matchup that went Alabama's way in January. Another transfer as well as Minnesota defensive tackle Keontae Shad has entered the portal in his 2 years in the Quad Cities. Very solid contributor. Not as a defensive tackle, unless you're a Ndamukong Suh, you're not really going to put up huge numbers. But I think that Shad did a very good job in the middle of that Gopher defense. And I think this loss, although again, you're going to look at his numbers, probably say, oh, I think he had under like 30 tackles, but typically that's not a defensive tackle's job. A defensive tackle's job is to fill the gap. Yeah, make the tackles when they come your way, but a lot of times a defensive tackle is just opening up lanes for linebackers to clean it up. So again, like I said, when you look at the numbers, Shad, what he did for Minnesota, it's not going to say, wow, that guy's, a big loss. But in my estimation, I think he is a big loss because of the fact that he's done his job and he did his job well. Remember, it's assignments. Football's all about assignments, and I think Shad really did his. And again, another guy that I think probably stays, if not for that free transfer season. More transfers on the basketball side of things. Yesterday, Ohio State saw their center, Ibrahima Diallo, enter the transfer portal. This is not a big loss for Chris Holtmann and his staff. Diallo really never developed during his 2 seasons on campus at Ohio State. Uh, saw the court here and there, but I think he was a guy that was looked at as a developmental guy that would sit on the bench a couple years and potentially turn into something. Well, he really didn't, and you have to kind of say, all right, well, this is something that I think for both parties, this move it makes sense. Diallo opens up a scholarship for Ohio State and potentially finds a new home where he could really make a difference. One other quick note on Ohio State, and that's about EJ Liddell. There was over the weekend, I wasn't sure if these rumors were true. However, EJ's father came out yesterday to squash the rumors that uh, EJ was considering a transfer to the Illini. As we all know, the Illini have been bit by the transfer portal pretty hard. Liddell is from Bellevue. He was the Illinois two-time Mr. Basketball, only the second player ever to do that. And, he actually was on campus. He was in Champaign last week. However, it was, according to his father, just a visit to see a friend. And he made it known that he wasn't with the coaching staff. He was just visiting his friend. Apparently his father was saying that he wore a hat, a hood, a mask, so that you couldn't quite see him. So it wasn't broadcasted that he was taking a look at Illinois. He's not in the portal, and so I believe it would be an NCAA violation if the coaching staff did talk to him. So EJ's father came out, squashed that rumor, and looks like their sole focus is either EJ on going to the NBA or returning to Ohio State. But who knows? Things can change very, very quickly. Maryland's getting a transfer as well in Simon Wright. He was at Elon. This one's interesting because Wright was ready to kind of hang it up. He realized that he wasn't probably going to play much at Elon, and he's just going to go academics, and he decided that he was going to go to Maryland. And Mark Turgeon reached out and said, "Hey, we could use you. We think you could make a difference for us." That's why he is not coming on as a scholarship player. He's going to be coming on as a preferred walk-on, but still, anytime you get a guy that's got college basketball experience that you're able to put onto your team is always a good thing. So I think that even though you're seeing Wright come on as a PWO, there's potential that he very well could earn a scholarship at a later point in time. So we'll keep a monitor on that. But still, Mark Turgeon, when you could add a guy again, and this is important because these guys at the end of the bench, they're important. They play roles on the team. And that's why you see when those guys get into games, in blowouts, in garbage time, that the bench typically, most teams, I'd say 99% of the time, the bench goes crazy. These guys work their asses off. They do all the little things. They help their teammates, do things that that they need another guy there for. And they're the epitome of a good teammate. And that's why you see those bench guys go nuts when these guys come out and get their opportunity. So, uh, again, it's not a scholarship guy. It's not a guy that is really going to make a massive impact. But I think Wright is a solid player, and it's a nice little addition without having to use a scholarship for Maryland. And that will do it for me this morning on your Big Ten Morning Minutes. Once again, I appreciate the listen. You can give me a follow on Twitter at Mike F. Chen. You can follow the show site over there as well at Big Ten. Rate us, review us, share us on all of your listening platforms. May the 4th be with you, Big Ten fans. I will talk to you tomorrow morning.